Attic story. When I was a kid, the attic always scared me more than the basement did. I don't really know why. Most people are more afraid of basements, but there was something about our attic that really got to me. If I had to guess, I'd say it was because our attic was unconventional. For starters, it was surprisingly spacious. Most attics are cramped and tight, but ours was built in a way where you never had to crouch. You could walk around freely. You might think that meant we used it often, but we didn't. My parents treated it like a glorified storage room. That was its only purpose. Looking back now, they avoided it as much as possible. Another strange thing about it was the layout. The attic had tons of beams, strange elevations, and odd structural breaks. It was almost like a maze. There was no clear pattern to where the beams appeared, and because of that, you could never stand in one place and see the entire attic. The floor was uneven too. You could easily hurt yourself if you weren't careful. My dad used to joke that one of us would slip on a joist, fall through the insulation, and crash through the ceiling. So yeah, you can imagine why that kind of attic would scare a kid. What terrified me most was not being able to see the whole space. Every time I went up there, I felt like someone was hiding behind one of the beams. But what I'm about to tell you happened so long ago that I barely remember anything else from that time. Except this. This memory is vivid. It happened during the week. I remember because I had school that day. I woke up one morning and noticed something strange. My feet were dirty. The bottoms were grey and grimy. There was a thin layer of grit between my toes. I sat on the edge of my bed staring at them, trying to understand what had happened. I hadn't gone outside the night before. I hadn't done anything unusual. I had just gone to sleep and woken up like that. I didn't think much of it at the time. I just washed my feet and went about my day. But then things escalated. A few days later, I found a small cardboard box in my room. It was filled with old photographs, the kind my parents kept stored in the attic. I had no memory of bringing it downstairs. When I asked my mom about it, she assumed I'd been rummaging around up there. I told her I hadn't. She didn't seem concerned. She just took the box back upstairs. Then it happened again. I woke up and found an old brass lamp sitting on my desk. I vaguely recognized it from the attic. That's when everything clicked. The dirty feet, the box, the lamp. I wasn't just sleepwalking. I was sleepwalking to the attic. The realization didn't scare me at first. It just felt strange. The idea that I was navigating that maze of beams and uneven flooring in complete darkness, unconsciously, was unsettling. I told my parents. They reacted the way you'd expect. They said sleepwalking was normal, that lots of kids do it, that I'd grow out of it. They weren't dismissive, but they weren't overly concerned either. But I was. After the next incident, I started dreading bedtime. I would lie awake for hours, trying to fight sleep. I was terrified of what might happen once I was unconscious. Every morning, I would check my feet. If they were clean, it had been a good night. If they were dirty, it had been a bad night. They were usually clean, but the few times they weren't really got to me. The worst part? I had no memory of any of it. For all I knew, I could have been spending more time in the attic than in my own bed. Then one night, everything changed. I woke up. But it wasn't morning. It was still dark, and I wasn't lying down. I was standing. For a few seconds, my brain couldn't process it. Then it hit me. I was in the attic. Pitch black darkness. I couldn't see anything. Not the beams, not the boxes, not the hatch, nothing. And I had no idea where I was standing. The fear that washed over me was overwhelming. I could barely breathe. I knew the attic's layout, but only vaguely. I knew there were obstacles everywhere. Trying to find the hatch in complete darkness felt impossible, but I couldn't just stand there forever. So I started moving, slowly, carefully. I was so scared I started crying, silently. Tears just streamed down my face. I felt like if I made too much noise, something would hear me, because I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. I don't know why I felt that way, but I did. And then I heard something, a soft thud, behind me, like someone shifting their weight on the floorboards. I kept moving. Then I heard it again, and again, each time from a different spot. That's when I knew. Something else was up there with me. I don't know how long it took, but I eventually found the hatch. I ran straight to my parents' room and woke them up. I was fully crying at that point. I told them everything. The darkness, the sound,